Alrighty then, hey guys, and welcome. My name's LDC, and this is this is a special day, actually, of my Agrarian Skies 2-week challenge. There wasn't an episode yesterday, which would have been day 10. This is day 11, but we're going to do a double episode, I guess, to catch up on the things that have happened in the last 2 days. I can only apologise for not doing a day 10 episode. I was pretty busy making absolutely sure I could rock through all my Thaumcraft stuff in a reasonable amount of time. I was also unfortunately a little busy sort of outside of the game. It's not really a great excuse, but there it is. So on day 10, yesterday, I wanted to get through all of Hell's Kitchen, and at least most of Thaumcraft. Ideally I wanted to finish it yesterday, but I couldn't quite manage that. So I'm a little behind right now, honestly, but I think we're still going to be okay. So I did get through all of Hell's Kitchen. It was pretty simple, really, once I had access to the blood magic farms over there. So originally I put, a bunch of toast through here. I kind of rejiggered these systems. They're currently set to bread, but this dark cable is off. It had a level emitter here, turning it on when I needed the toast, after I'd made the bread from dough in a similar fashion, just on this little pulverizer bank. And these, on the little furnace bank, this is my pulverizer bank, which is currently finished, because I have 500,000 gravel. I'm going to need about that much gravel later, but that's neither here nor there. So we continued through the Hell's Kitchen questlines. It was pretty simple. I threw a cow, obviously, earlier, and a pig through my murdering systems, and then just over in this general direction, the end of my machine line, I've got a pork and beef system to cook up a bunch of that stuff for me and leave me a bunch of raw stuff. So that meant I could pretty happily get through the bacon mushroom burger quest, especially because I had all those extra mushrooms from my witchwater farm. I also, obviously, with the fisher I had downstairs, could do the leafy fish sandwiches, and just with the extra lettuce, and of course the leafy fish requires mayonnaise, and I just was using fish, and mayonnaise is just eggs with a juicer. So I've got eggs coming in from my chickens, fish from my fishes downstairs, this general location. So that was all pretty well and good. Also we had, upstairs we come, also we had the spaghetti, which I just threw like a single spice leaf through my farms. I've currently got candleberries going, because I need some candleberries for later. So through the spice leaf through my farms, made all that spaghetti. What else did that require? So I had the beef coming in, obviously, and just tomatoes. Pasta was pretty simple with dough and butter. I had plenty of milk coming in. Also, obviously, we had the juice, so I just used, I just happened to be growing blueberries. Any berry would work, and the 100 hearty breakfasts were pretty simple. I did just need a stock of onions to make the potato cakes. Here, onions are required for those, and again just blueberry juice, then toast and fried egg is pretty simple. So then with that all out of the way, the real bottleneck was just the ME crafting system, having to put it all together. I came along here, I had cows in here that were making milk for me, so in the Go With The Flow questline, the milk quest is done. It's actually been done like 2 or 3 times to get me all these red heart canisters. But I came along with a bunch of ancient spores and transmuted all my cows into mushrooms. I had ancient spores from my sieving system earlier, and so the mushrooms started pooping out mushroom soup, so I had a bunch of that. And so I completed the mushroom soup quest, and also I had enough sewage to complete the sewage quest. What was crucial for that, though, was upgrading all these with iron upgrades, so that the entire farm was able to collect sewage for me. So then, once that was done, I murdered all the mushrooms, put a half stack of wool through the blood altar, and made a bunch of sheep, because now I'm collecting wool. I want wool for the wool quest later. I'm going to add purple dye to it to make 10,000 purple wool, as opposed to purpling up the sheep, although that is also a valid stratagem. But yeah, so we've got, about 3,500 wool, so that's going to more or less run for the rest of the game, I'd say. I don't need much else out of these ranching systems. Right, also what I did is up here, can see we've added a couple more turbines. Still isn't quite filled out, but the second reactor is now rocking. So we've got a total of 11 of these turbines, and they're all sitting at 24,071, each and every single one. So 2 of these are powering my base, and the 9 remaining are powering 21 laser drills over in this direction. I'll just grab my air sigil. We can float over here. You can see that I've sort of layered these in rows of 8, and they're just kind of offset so that the lasers are missing. So we've got these piles of lasers coming down. It's still not quite enough laser drills. I'm going to need to add more, and also add gold focuses to them later, because we're only sitting at 70,000 gold. And we need, like I've said before, about 360 odd thousand by the end of the series. And of course the end of the series is in only a little over 3 days. So there's definite work to be done there. But we'll be filling out the rest of these turbines, adding the gold focuses, and switching them also over to nether quartz focuses later, because I also need a lot of nether quartz. Right, a couple of other little miscellaneous things done. I went through some other quests, so obviously I still haven't done the liquid meat. That's just going to be done by replacing some of the grinders downstairs with slaughterhouses when I feel like it, basically. It's not a big deal. And for the hoarding, we've done our crystal clear by throwing a bunch of sand through our auto smeltery here, and the auto smeltery is currently pushing through a bunch of cobblestone to make seared stone for the hoarding quest, this guy here. Gonna need a couple thousand seared stone. We got all the wood we needed by putting an autonomous activator here and just throwing bone meal into it. And that cranked through 100,000 wood logs pretty quick. Simple stuff. What else have we done? We've done the green slime portion of this by throwing a regular slime through the auto grinder. I'm going to make a blue slime pretty soon, just by using this bucket of slime here. This guy here, liquid slime bucket. I'm going to pour him out, he's going to make a blue slime. I'll safari net him, throw him downstairs. That'll be that blue slime taken care of. What else have we got going on in this? Just sands of time, 8100 sand. I still have to do the metallic collection, which is not a big deal. The alumite is a little bit tricksy to put together, but these are all very simple to either just make straight up or throw through the smeltery. Raw ores, I simply turned off my nether ore processing for these ores for like a little bit to get a half stack of each or whatever. But I haven't really been focusing on for the hoarding or go with the flow right yet. What I have been focusing on is the You're a Wizard Steve questline, which you can see here is very nearly completed. To get set up for that, I did a couple things. Over here, you can see I added a second spawner, and this just happens to be in a magical forest. This is the magical forest biome that's shipped with the map, and so I wanted that to be producing essence and mana beans. Unfortunately, the wisps don't seem to either be spawning or dying properly because I'm not getting any essence from them, which is a bit of a pain, but I did get plenty of mana beans coming in. And the mana beans are pretty helpful for making Salus Mundus for the Thaumcraft questline. The other thing I did, obviously, was if we look over here, you can see I set up my division sigil, ran the division sigil through this to activate it, turned all this into cursed earth. I just grabbed a couple cursed earth and just left this here. It eventually all got set on fire, being exposed to the sun, and some bad guys spawned. I more or less just ignored it. You can also see over here that I grew a silver wood. I did that pretty early because I can just make silver woods with blood magic. The silver wood sapling, there's just some shards and an oak sapling, which isn't hugely necessary, honestly. You can't use it really to make wands or anything without the great wood sapling, which is much more difficult to obtain. You can use the silver wood though, although it's not really necessary, to throw together the vis filters. As you see, just a silver wood log with some gold ingots and 5 auto, 5 aqua. But of course in here there's also the sky alchemy section where you can do this with exactly the same amount of aqua, and instead of the silverwood log you use a bunch of silk mesh, and silk mesh obviously with a spawn room going is just made from string, and I have about 12,000 string, so overall probably actually better to use the string rather than the silverwood logs. But I made that tree early and just kind of left it there and used some of those logs for fun. So, coming through some of this Thaumcraft stuff we've done. Oh yes, and also, it almost goes without saying, I took the Cursed Earth and upgraded my downstairs spawn room, just to increase my rates, but also so that bad guys would continue spawning and filling my mob essence buckets, my large mob essence buckets, overnight, so that I could run my auto spawner grinder machines that run off mob essence, and they wouldn't run out by morning, and also to keep me in stock of bone meal, which I did run out of for a little bit there. Also, I just came over here and set up a little similar to earlier auto hammer machine, so this is just constantly going to hammer with, I've got the one fortune diamond one, but I'm just filling it with iron hammers, and that's more or less the extent of the automation. It's pretty much pseudo automated, but if I want any kind of shard, so you can see the shards here are all made by hammering various things, the Thaumcraft shards you need. So here I hammer sandstone slabs, which is a bit difficult to automate actually. But you know, the fire shards are just netherrack, and I've got netherrack out my eyeballs. The earth shards as well are made by hammering grass, and so I make grass with just stacks of the stuff. With blood magic alchemy, which is pretty simple, I simply take a stack of dirt, a stack of bone meal, and 2 stacks of seeds. Come out from my farms, and it's dirt, seed, bone, seed, or seed goes up here, and that just cranks out. And that'll slowly make me a stack of grass, so I had a bunch of these that I can toss through my system here. Just throw the grass down, and that'll smash it up. Eventually it'll start throwing out some earth shards that'll end up in my vacuum hopper. Drop rate's not that great, but that's okay. Also, later, for the 1000 mycelium quest, I can kind of upgrade this system with some blood magic rituals. And so say I wanted to make mycelium, I can do that in the alchemic chemistry set with mushrooms and grass. So I could automate this to start churning constantly out grass for me, because these are all very cheap. And then throw that into the second automated chemistry ritual to throw out mycelium. I'm not sure if I will do that. That's one of the ways you can be making mycelium, but that's neither here nor there. The main thing I've been doing is churning through the Thaumcraft questline, because that needs doing, and it's... Well, full disclosure, I'm not very good at Thaumcraft, so I was a bit panicky about making sure that this all went smoothly, and didn't take up too much time. It took up a little bit of time, but it had to be done. So, I'll just kind of walk you through how all this works. It's quite likely you know more about Thaumcraft than I do, because I'm somewhat new to it. It's never been... It's not that I dislike it, I just like other things more. I focus on other things more. But there it is. So, we came over here, pretty simple stuff. The research table, the arcane work table. You set up a crucible, and you use that to... I've thrown a fluid terminal next to it, so I have a constant supply of water there. And just throw on some night ore under it. Making the night ore by throwing 3 coal, 6 torches, and 2 glowstone in there to make 2 night ore. And all those ratios sort of work out, and no bad stuff is left in the system there. You can see here we've got our 2 alchemical furnaces. Each of them has 3 alembics on it. And I've just been kind of throwing in stuff in there and labeling the alembics to keep things nice and tidy, throwing jars to grab the outputs, and then just grabbing files worth of stuff. The system got changed up a little bit here. I wanted heaps of this Praecantatio, so I've got nether wart pumping into this constantly. This is labelled for 2 Praecantatio and 1 herba. The herba would go into this void jar, so that's not ever a problem. And as long as I've got some kind of fuel in here, which I don't now, kind of deliberately, I don't need any more Praecantatio right yet. It's just going to pump nether wart in, and it's going to keep these Praecantatio jars filled. I had a similar system here, although I very rarely used this automation. I did this mostly manually with files. The one time this did come in handy was if I wanted to melt down a bunch of wooden hose for the, I think it's Mito in hose, the sickle thing that I needed. Then I can set this to craft. The mech knows how to craft them. I throw it in like so, it starts filling up with wooden hose. And then just to keep things tidy, I would take some labels and some jars. So this has the Mito, this has the arbor, and there's only 2 things coming out of these holes. So then I can jar these up, and that'll just keep filling the jars until they're full. And those holes will just keep coming in from the molecular assembler chamber until I run out of elementum. I've been making my elementum over here with this alchemical construct, which is I think it's called the Thaumatorium. Is it an artifice or alchemy? I think it might be alchemy. Over here, the Thaumatorium, which effectively enables me to automate some of the crucible stuff. I could automate all of it if I wanted, but I've just been using it really for elementum. So I throw my catalyst in here, the coal, and it says you can make elementum with this. You just need the 3 ignis, the 3 perdicio, and the 3 potentia. So I fill these jars with those things, it sucks it up, and the coal, and it shoots out the elementum into this chest. I also added to this the mnemonic matrix, which allowed me more recipes to be able to be stored. And that was quite handy a little bit later, because if we go through our quest book here, most of this is reasonably simple stuff. The arcane crafting, the deconstruction table, the arcane work table. The great wood sapling obviously required my first infusion, and in order to set up the infusion crafting, you need of course the runic matrix, which is impossible to get without great wood, so you have to go to Sky Alchemy and build yourself a sky matrix, which requires less essentia, less magic in your wand, simply with crystal clusters instead of the usual sky matrix. So that way I was able to make the great wood sapling here. To complete the quest, a little bit difficult, required a lot of these essentials, but you know, threw it all together, melted stuff down in the alembics. Not a big issue. You can see I also made a hell of a lot of tallow candles, and tallow candles just by throwing phials of precantatio in the crucible with, what is that, glowstone? No, brains. With brains to make all these tallow candles. And you can see also underneath I've got a bunch of extra these, just to up the stability of my infusion altar. So, doing that, I made the great wood sapling, and got all these extra saplings, a bit of a golem there, all good stuff. Moved on to the alchemical constructs and such that I used to set up this whole thing. Also reasonably simple stuff. We then moved on to just the golems. I had most of these received from reward bags and such, but the rest were just throwing files of the various essentials to create the golems in, with the blocks of thaumium, the blocks of iron, the hay bales, etc. Another reasonably simple one, brains. Make a brain in a jar with the zombie brains, so I had plenty of that sort of stuff going on. And the brain in a jar and artifice down here. Reasonably simple again. Cognitio essentia. Just melting things down, throwing it in the jars, making sure everything was set up for the infusion recipe. We did move on then to slightly more difficult here, where I had to make a bunch of golem animation cores. And that's where this came in really handy, because to make those golem animation cores and golemancy here, I needed 16 gathers and 16 harvests. So usually you would throw these in a crucible, but this can get quite messy quite quickly, and so it's much easier to simply set this up with the extra 2 recipes that the mnemonic matrix provides, to set up these recipes, and then just throw in the required essentials, which were, you know, lucrum, terra, and then messy and mito, and that was why I had this whole setup, to make all the mito I needed for the harvest animation cores. Then it was simply a matter of grinding through the lamp quests, so I needed all the niter to make all the base lamps, and then I had these hoppers attached to my pedestals, and I simply loaded those hoppers up with, you know, enough of the required items to make the lamps. So you can see the lamp of growth, for example, here required all these earth shards, the bone meal, the gold, so I could load these hoppers up with earth shards, bone meals, and gold, make sure that my symmetry was good, and then simply replace the lamp in the middle with a fresh lamp once it had turned into a gold one, and then whack it with my wand again. So that takes a little bit of time, and it takes a little bit extra time to set up all the required 16 of times 16 bestiar, you know, a bunch of piles and piles of essentia, just grinding through, really, and filing out whatever is required. So then we got to move on to the Magician's Blood Orb, obviously. Very simple, throwing 3 blocks of gold through my blood altar took about 20 seconds. Not even that, I don't know. But then we move on to what's actually a little bit difficult about this, which is the Staff Core of the Primal. To unlock the Staff Core of the Primal, I had to do kind of a lot of stuff. If any of you have ever done this in this map, it's not trivial. But we go through. In Thaumaturgy here, you see that what has to be done is each of these staff cores have to be researched. What also has to be researched is this up here, the Wand Focus Primal research, which is kind of a secret research. You simply get that by making the Primal Charm. You hold that in your inventory for a little while, and it eventually starts humming nicely to you, saying nice things to you, and at a certain point it will fill you with inspiration or something. A little chat message comes up, whatever, and then that unlocks the research here, the Wand Focus Primal. What you then have to do is make the Wand Focus Primal, which is reasonably simple. Just a bunch of magic in your wand with diamonds and nether quartz. You scan that with your thermometer, and it unlocks your research for the Staff Core of the Primal. Until you've then researched all your staff cores, it does that thing where it's blacked out and has crazy writing on it, saying that, you know, further research is required. So you research all these staff cores of the Primal. It's a lot of research points required. It's quite difficult to get those. It's pretty important to actually make the wand cores, because as you can see, I've made all those wand cores. So if we look at like this, for example, they all have a hell of a lot of research on them, and that really helps with researching the next staff core. So you have to go through and you have to research all those staff cores in order to be able to then research your Staff Core of the Primal. To help me along, you can see I made 14 deconstruction tables. These are all with export buses having nether wart pumped into them. And there's enough deconstruction tables and nether wart decomposes quick enough that I have a more or less infinite supply of primal aspect research points. The trick just becomes grinding out and coming through and picking them all up. So that's sort of how I got through that. Eventually we did manage to get to the end of this and research Staff Core of the Primal. I'd already made all the rods in order to research them. I actually made a couple of each. You can see that each of these has a hopper with a spare rod in it. Because now what I want to be doing is I want to actually make the Staff Core of the Primal in order to complete the final Thaumcraft quest, because I want to whack this one out and move on to other things really quick. So we're going to more or less do that now. You can see requires half stack, I don't know if stack is the right term, of each primal, and a full jar. I guess jar is the actual correct term of precantatio, so we've got all that precantatio there, and each of these is my primal, and they all have more than the required 32. I've got all my tallow candles, everything set up here. So we're actually going to take my fancy wand, and we're just going to rock. And we're going to watch this with the eye of a hawk, because if something goes wrong, we want to be able to fix that, because this is kind of crucial right now. But this is going to take a while, so we're just going to hover about and watch it run. Little primal charm got knocked off there. I don't actually have replacement primal charms. I just have replacement rods. Hopefully that won't prove to cost me later, but our precantatio is nearly done. I'm going to start absorbing some items. And just like that. No stresses, no dramas. The staff core of the Primal. I can claim that final reward. And that is a maxed out Year of Wizard Steve questline. So that's pretty fantastic. There's still some other things we have to do with Thaumcraft, though. You can see in the For the Hoarding questline. I've got to make a bunch of files of Essentia. You can see I've been doing some testing, just to make sure that I was getting the right files, because they are in fact not named. You kind of have to guess based on the colour. But we can see here that this is Instrumentum, Census, Venenum, and Granus. We can't actually see, but I tested earlier and made a note of it. And this final one is 2 stacks of Herba. So I have to melt all those down and submit them. We'll get onto that later. What I also have to do for Thaumcraft is later there is an armor questline. I believe I've already actually unlocked that. It's down in bragging rights. Armorsmith. So that requires you to make every armor in the game. Only the basic tier of stuff is open yet because I haven't done all this. The other thing is I'm going to need to make a full set of runic armor, a full set of Thaumium armor, and I believe also the runic goggles of revealing. I'm also going to need to make the Thaumaturge's robes, which I've done here. You can see that I've got them on a nice armor stand with a redstone signal, so that I can swap out my armor. I'm currently wearing the Sanguine helmet, which was made with a set of goggles of revealing thrown into my binding ritual. I actually made 2, so I can swap out whole armor sets but still be wearing the Sanguine helmet. So this is my basic, flying about, going down to find nodes armor set, which is just down here. I've not made any nodes and jars to move them to my recharging station. I simply used the 5 free nodes you get from completing one of the Thaumcraft quests at my recharging station, and the rest of them I just kind of come down here. I'll rack out my air sigil and my wand like so, and I just sort of fly about. I don't really want to invest any extra time in making a node in a jar, and this is reasonably quick, particularly because I can then take my warp book and simply just go to my Thaumcraft station once my wand is charged. So that there is a completed Year of Wizard Steve, completed Hell's Kitchen. Tomorrow we do have to move on very quickly to getting these bees things done, and also start setting up some of the infrastructure for the hoarding that's going to take a little bit, including the dirt infrastructure. It's a fun task always. The Purple Madness, obviously these amaranth planks are going to take a little bit for me to get that amaranth wood grinding through. The rest of this is reasonably simple stuff. But amaranth and dirt are the next things, but we have not done a single bee. I don't own any bees. We have to really get onto those bees. We have to start making seed oil, honey, liquid honey, breeding up 100,000 drones, all that sort of stuff. So that's going to be pretty much all there is going to be time for tomorrow. And we're getting pretty close to ending time for this episode also. I'm just going to clear out my inventory, because we're going to end a bit of a high note today. I'm going to throw away the staff core of the Primal. I'm going to keep it just in my Thaumcraft chest. I'm never going to use that. I don't need it. You might want it yourself, but that's not really my jam. So we're just going to clean up this inventory. These are here. That's good enough. And to make up for there being no episode yesterday, we're going to go through all the quest reward bags we've unlocked in the last couple of days and see what sort of fun we get. We love gambling here. 8 nodes, holy shit, I wish I'd opened this a bit earlier. Oh my god. 8 fucking nodes, are you kidding me? Can I put these on top like that? I can. Oh, look at all these nodes. Oh, I knew I should have opened these bags earlier, this would have been so good. Holy shit. Those are some nodes. No node in a jar, just all free nodes, that's great. Epic bag, should I start with... What's worse than epic? We'll start slow. Good, I have one good bag. Got a hammer. Terrible. Then greater epic legendary, I guess. Greater fishing rod. Sapling. Writing pick. I don't even know what that is. Amaranth stairs. Angel blocks. Nether fish. I'm going to start being near to one of these so we can clean out my junk a bit better. And just fly down here to my main workshop. So, nether redstone ore. You can see that at this point is at nearly 500,000 redstone, not exactly exciting. Oh, a writing pick is just a pickaxe. It didn't look like a pickaxe, but that's what that was. Some golden lassos. Did they have things in them? Nope, just empty golden lassos. Some mariculture dust I'll never use. More blood saplings. Oh dear. Stencil. Open block stencils for doing pretty stuff. That's delightful. That's just wonderful. 2 more greater bags. Oops, I accidentally opened a legendary bag and got 16 servos. That's a butterfly. Some saltpeter. Again, saltpeter, not particularly. Oh, that gives... I don't even know what that gives. What does that give in a pulverizer? I'm pulverizing that to get niter, and we have 65,000 niter. Silverwood and more aura nodes. Oh my goodness. Some speed runes are pretty cool. More golems, more shards. See, this would have been so useful actually during Thaumcraft. A cobalt lumber axe. That's amazing. Oh, some apiarist stuff. This actually, the way I do bees isn't going to be useful, but I can submit it anyway for the armor quest, so this is going to be pretty useful anyway. Some more servos, some diamond hammers I'm going to throw in my... Actually, I don't need my shard system anymore, so I won't actually be using these. Can't believe how many nodes I've got. Look at this, it's Thaumic and everything. It has 4 modifiers. 4 modifiers. Are you kidding me? That's ridiculous. That is an insane axe. Okay, that's pretty excellent. Some more runes. Some more aura nodes. Oh my god. Oh man. Yeah, I should not have held off on 1 nether iridium ore. I think I need a total of 3 to finish this questline. I can see I'm a bit hungry, so I'm just gonna have one of the delighted meals I cooked up about 2 stacks of earlier. They're pretty simple now, really. Just if you haven't seen these, a deluxe cheeseburger is just a regular cheeseburger with lettuce and tomato. You add that to some French fries, with potato and salt, and a smoothie. I'm using blueberries again, which is a juicer and snowballs. So I have all that in large quantities, and I can make delighted meals for days. So many delighted meals. All these aura nodes, oh my god, this axe is ridiculous. I'm going to take this axe right now actually, we're going to test this axe. I'm so excited about this axe. I can throw all sorts of junk on here later, but I'm going to cut down this great wood tree, see how this goes for me. Woo! What a, oh look, this has caught some flux. Okay, I'm just making a mess, we're gonna stop making a mess now. My little celebration for finishing fucking Thaumcraft. Ritual stones are cool. Diamond armor, a single lamp of growth, some auto activators. We'll move on to our legendary bags. I already opened one of these and just got 16 servos, so my hopes aren't super high, but oh man, that also would have been pretty amazing earlier. The one focus of equal trade is really good if you were decorating. I could swap out all this cobble for something actually nice. I don't think I've apologized enough actually for just how gross this base is. It's just cobble with stuff on it. It's not really how I like playing about. You can see I have put, copper blocks under my beacons. You don't actually need to do that. These could just be cobble if you wanted. They could be anything under there. The block of metal is not required to activate these beacons to make a tier 5 altar. You can see here that if I take my divination sigil and check the status of my altar, it's still tier 5. It doesn't matter. It's just a beacon on some cobble. Who cares? Just leave that like that. But yeah, that one focus of equal trade could really pretty this place up after I'm done. Or maybe we'll see. And so the final legendary reward bag, we get 16 conveyor belts. It's always crap at the end, but man, those aura nodes. If I wanted to do Thaumcraft stuff, oh, it's full it's just raining great wood logs. This is nuts. These are so many nodes. Oh my god. So that's pretty cool. I don't think I'll ever use any of them, but it's there. So, Now we that is quite the sight. Take off my goggles. Oh yeah, that's nice. So we really are out of time for today. Thanks so much again for stopping by. This was the day 10-11 special episode where I mainly just opened reward bags and giggled. You can expect much more of that in the future. But yeah, so today we've completed Hell's Kitchen, we've completed You're a Wizard Steve. Things are looking pretty tight. We really need to get onto this bee stuff, so that's going to happen tomorrow. We're going to get all the breeding done. We're going to ram down here, open up our first Magnets quest. This is the first Magnets quest. It gets harder later, and we're going to crank through that. Then we're going to set up some cyclics for some of this cobble, and hopefully set up our dirt infrastructure, and then just deal with some of these miscellaneous irritating quests, you know, like the slimy saplings, or just making 1,000 ritual stones or whatever. We're just gonna crank through those, most of those off camera, but so tomorrow is mainly gonna be the bee day. Tomorrow is bee day, so tune in for that. Thanks again for stopping by. I've been LDC, you've been excellent, and this was day 10 and 11 of my Agrarian Skies 2-week challenge series.